And here we go with another episode of Quick and Dirty with me, Wardo. A little bit of housekeeping. Can't apologize enough, but I was a little tardy on a podcast last week. Just had checked it off before it was done, got the weeks mixed up, and so I want to say, I'm sorry to everybody who was kind of looking forward to that, and carry on. Mistakes are made. Was on a bit of a few fellas in town over the weekend for a celebration of a friend getting married, and we felt we'd like to be young again, and we went for it. And now I'm drinking most of my gym recovery products, kind of just to get me through the week, I think. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm just hydrating away here, and trying to feel like myself again in the gym and in clinic, and sleep and everything like that is just so important for that to happen. I think it was more the lack of sleep than any beverages that were totally consumed. But I digress. Pretty excited. I mean, we are in bear season in British Columbia here, and we are. Where I am, definitely bears out on the coast. I've seen some things, and my mom, of all people, has let me know that their bears are out on the island. So there you go. But up here, we're still probably waiting for a little bit more green up. Maybe get out for a little look next week. If nothing else, always good to get out for a look and maybe bang a few rocks with the gun and see what's out there and whatever. But also, I think a lot of guys, I think maybe this year more than ever, maybe that's just myself, picking up a new bow, but I'm hearing a lot of guys, maybe it's just the popularity of bow hunting, I think a lot of people are really interested in trying to take a bear with the bow this year. If not, definitely get out there and give it a crack. So I thought we might talk a little bit again about some just shoulder mechanics, keeping some things in mind, and just like possibly some things to do after, not so much. I mean, in the field, if you're having pain as to draw the bow back in the field, I mean, holy, that's got to probably be pretty painful almost all the time, I would imagine, because you get a little adrenaline going to draw back on an animal. You're probably not going to feel much, right? So these things are more for kind of around after work. You're going to want to get a few arrows in, or maybe you're one of those guys who kind of like breaks that up into one day a week you shoot a ton. Again, I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think a little bit done over time for anything that's very muscle memory is much better. Like any of those kind of technical aspect sports, whether it be shooting a bow or whether it be the golf swing or whatever that might be, you're probably not just going to see somebody who's very talented who just does that kind of once a week, unless maybe you've done it your entire damn life and it just doesn't matter anymore. But like, I'm sure John Dudley will just be able to shoot a bow if he didn't shoot one again for 15 years and then I just walked back into it. I'm sure it would be fine. So what I'm trying to say is, especially if you have a job that is more desk oriented and you're sitting there a little bit closed off throughout the day, especially if you're working from home, the home office setup for a lot of people has been probably more of a challenge than anything else. And I mean, I think these tips will help you there. Spend a couple minutes before you draw the bow back after the workday. I mean, hopefully you're getting a workout in anyways, and if you are, hopefully you're doing a little something to kind of get out of that, like, quote unquote desk posture. But yeah, so if you're gonna watch the YouTube video of these, that's the other housekeeping thing. And I'll run back to that in a second. If you're gonna watch the YouTube video of these, I'll kind of be demonstrating them a little bit. If not, like, they have names. Just use the good old Google and YouTube, and you'll figure it out. If not, as always, just kind of shoot me a DM. The last few weeks have been, or a couple weeks have been bungled up with video. I'm back shooting this on my iPhone because the GoPro, I'm frustrated with it, to be perfectly honest. I was trying to shoot in some better quality for you guys, but what I can load from my GoPro onto my computer, or which then loads onto YouTube, which then goes into Dropbox, or goes into Dropbox and then on YouTube. There was just so much buffoonery in that. It was pretty frustrating, and then it actually wasn't coming out properly. And by the time it shot, like I don't know, I'm just not savvy enough to kind of figure out how to change the resolution back to good old 1080. I was trying to shoot on 1260 and a little bit higher frame, or a little bit higher clarity and some better frame rate and stuff. So anywho, that's what I got. So really, we remember that the shoulder blade is called the scapula, and it's got, the biggest postural problem that you'll see is somebody that kind of doesn't have forward head posture, but will have kind of like a rounded back posture like that, and they end up getting that hump on your back, right? Now there's a lot of talk right now, posture doesn't matter and all these things. And you know what, if you have no pain and all that stuff and you're not trying to do anything, you can't go into somewhere and be like, oh, we've got to like fix if there's something else wrong, we've got to fix your posture. I mean, we've got to get some things at an more optimal point, and then we got to mobilize them, stabilize them, strengthen them up, all that sort of stuff. More than anything, you need to create some fucking body awareness for somebody who has been sitting at a desk maybe for 10, 15 years. And honestly, in this generation, this day and age, kids are sitting in such a shit position. Like, I have kids coming in who are younger, and I think I might have even said this before, younger, and they have like stretch marks on their back from growing and kind of sitting in this garbage position, like a lot of phone time and so on and so forth. So the shoulder blade got a little fired up there, sorry about that. I'm not sorry at all, actually. So the shoulder blade and the thoracic spine and basically the back of your rib cage, right? So the base of your neck to kind of the middle of your back, those two work synonymously, right? Like, that's it. So if you have a shoulder blade that has kind of moved around the corner of that and is kind of tilted away from it, and you have a back that's kind of doesn't move with it as your shoulder moves, so as your arm goes kind of to overhead, you eventually will be in for a hard time. And it doesn't mean that you need to go in and you hit the local chiropractor up for 48 visits and all these things. It means that you need to be more aware of that. And I think good practice would not be just at the end of the workday, but the best practice would be the start of the workday, which I've said, many times. So the things that I would really try are getting a foam roller. You should have one anyways. It just, foam rolling isn't the end all be all, but it just loosens up. It tenderizes your muscles a little bit and gets it so you're like, oh, get some blood moving and gets a little bit of a novel stimulus in there, and it makes things a little bit easier. So I would say get on that foam roller, kind of get the coffee going in the morning, throw your cream, sugar, MCT oil, whatever you're gonna do in there, just black, like I have it a lot of the time. Lay on that foam roller, put it just below your shoulder blades, put your feet up on the couch, and then put your hands by your ears, and then I want you to keep your feet on the couch, your ass is on the floor, foam rollers mid-back, and I just want you to extend, kind of tipping your elbows back as far as you can, and I want you to do that 5 times. And then I want you to move the little roller, I want you to just move it up your back a little bit, just an inch, and I want you to do that 5 times, like tip the elbows back, and keep going until you get basically to the upper back base of the neck. So that's a basic one. You might get a few cheap pops in there. You can just let me know and I'll send you a bill for those later. And then really what we're gonna do from there is I want you to just flip right onto the ground. I want you to start into just knees down, right? You're in tabletop position. And then I just wanna see basically pushing your shoulder blades apart. So trying to push between your shoulder blades to the ceiling, trying to push the floor away. And I want you to try and keep your low back kind of where it is. So I don't want like a big cat-cow kind of deal. I just want you to keep pushing, and then I want you to kind of squeeze your shoulder blades together without trying to drop your stomach to the ground too much. And I would do probably about 20 of those nice and smooth and slow. And what you should feel is your shoulder blade sliding back and forth on your back. What that's going to do is really increase kind of the mind muscle connection to a lot of like where your shoulder blade is on your back, as well as help your T-spine get a little bit more upright. T-spines don't extend. You see a lot of people trying to hammer, oh, you need more T-spine extension. If your back is bent into a sickle shape, yeah, for sure you need to get to neutral. But once you're in neutral, you don't really need any more than that, right? Like there's only a couple degrees, per segment that has some T-spine extension in it. So that was definitely one thing, just kind of, a lot of people coming off the couch in the winter or getting quite strong in the winter. And then they kind of want to come in, they want to start pulling and really opening the chest up, and they're a little stuck, right? And what's going to happen is you're going to over pull with your arm, and your shoulder blade is actually stuck here. So almost try that. Push your shoulder forward over your chest, and then pull with your arm, not letting your shoulder blade go back very far. And that's going to lead to some subacromial pain. That's just kind of at the top front of your shoulder there. There's going to be maybe a little bit of bicep pain. Could progress to something a little worse than that. There's some other aspects that can happen there. And then we can also get, because of the way the shoulder is kind of pulled forward, in the neck, we can get almost like a little stretch injury and some irritation of maybe part of the brachial plexus, the ulnar nerve, the median nerve, these sorts of things, which is going to greatly diminish what's happening with your ability to pull the bow. And then we're progressing into way worse shit right now at that point too, because anytime you start to irritate nerves, you're really not flirting with disaster, but it can change things in a hurry for like, we can just kind of work around a little bit. It's like, all right, no, this is much more serious than that. So just recapping a little bit of T-spine extension, a little bit of scapular push-ups with our knees on the ground. And then after you do knees on the ground for maybe about 20, I want you to pick your knees up, stay right where you are, pick your knees up just an inch or so off the ground. And then I want you to just, again, squeeze together and push apart just that same kind of scapular push-up in kind of, it's called that's the low bear position, right? And we want to be very steady, and we just want to kind of squeeze together, push apart for another 15 to 20 reps in there. And that's honestly not a bad little start. Like if you just did that and that was it, a little bit of extension, a little bit of scapular push-up, knees on the ground, and then in the low bear position, just kind of some more scapular work, that will create a lot of kind of feedback to put your body in a good position in the morning and then throughout the workday. So I would do those breaks consistently, and then I would also do that before you shoot or before you hit the gym or whatever, but definitely before you start shooting. Then one of the things that I would do, and you could do this with your bow, you could kind of draw and you can kind of pull and release with your bow. Again, I wouldn't totally recommend this, but if you don't really have any bands or anything like that, you could absolutely kind of pull and release and just feel your shoulder blade actually pulling before you finish, boom, right to your holding position. Just kind of feel that, where that's going to be, and you could work some repetitions in there. And what you want to feel is yourself actually starting the pull with your shoulder blade, with your elbow staying straight. You don't want to initiate a pull with a bent elbow, because it's going to kind of diminish the pulling power of what you can do with your shoulder blade. So pull and then finish with the elbow, and then that's a nice position to sit in, and we can go from there. So those are some of the things. Again, like with the bow, I'd have to talk to somebody who's a little bit more educated than me, but I don't see a reason that if you're going to shoot 1,000 arrows with your bow that you can't just pull it back a little bit and then let it go back. If I'm wrong, I totally apologize. I can't imagine I would be. But if nothing else, I would, again, like I've talked about this before, it's pretty damn easy to have like a little, like a band or a loop in your bag, like some rubber tubing. You could even throw a little handle around the front, almost like a shot trainer, and you can just kind of like, again, kind of pull. That's a pretty easy mechanism to just pull to here and then slowly let it go, right? So maybe you've got some rubber tubing, it's tied around one end, put your hand through that thing, and then it's got like a little kind of hollow piece of PVC at one end, and you're hanging onto the front, and then just kind of opening it up. And you're kind of pulling and just letting that go. I would honestly, guys, do both sides. It sounds ridiculous. I know you're not going to shoot your bow both ways, but you know, what you do to one side is going to be good for the other a little bit, and then you'll kind of see, and you'll allow your body to kind of push with one side and pull with the other. Like, one of the biggest things with a golf swing as well is, like, a lot of guys will actually hit some, like, you'll train left-handed rotation even if you swing right-handed. So there's nothing wrong with kind of pulling the opposite way a little bit. So guys, that's just kind of the initial thing that I wanted to say, because it's super important at this point in the season when you're probably flinging some pretty decent arrows if you want to get into bear, or you're just really getting dialed in for sheep season, which, you know, I know is a ways away still. Well, elk and sheep season, whatever you're going to do, or if you just bow hunt, that's awesome. It's insane, but that's awesome. And yeah, guys, you know, that's kind of what I got. Cheers. We will catch you again soon.